Are you using and taking advantage of being lazy, or do you view it as something very negative and something that really can add no value to your life? Well, being lazy can actually work in your favor, and today I'm going to reveal exactly how. Bill Gates said that he would choose a lazy person to do a difficult or hard job because they would find an easy way to do it. See, our brains are really set up to look for the greatest reward in exchange for the lowest amount of effort. But yet we fight this nature so much, and we're always looking at how we can discipline ourselves and work harder. I know I've personally made my life a lot more difficult than it needed to be many times, both when it came to growing my business and scaling it, my health and improving it, and even in my relationships. For example, I used to be obese and I lost about 30 kilos, which is around 65 pounds. But before that, I really struggled to lose weight. And one of the biggest reasons why is because I thought that I had to work out non-stop and eat perfectly. Now, don't get me wrong, of course that helps. If you take really good care of yourself and you look after yourself and you eat well and you exercise tons, then you're going to lose weight. That's a good strategy. But I was making it harder than it needed to be. For example, my workouts were miserable. I wasn't having fun. And when I switched to doing a sport, like for me, it was playing floorball, all of a sudden the weight started dropping a lot quicker. But also, I stopped trying to eat perfectly, and instead I realized that if I just ate less, the weight came racing off very quickly. So it wasn't necessarily hard, it was more so that I was applying the wrong strategy and making it difficult on myself. And also, my self-image and who I believed myself to be was really fighting against me. I identified as somebody who was very overweight. I believed that that was who I was. And that, of course, made it even more difficult to do the right thing. And you might be tempted to say, well, you should just work harder and push through it. But that wasn't the solution for me. And for so many people, it's not the right solution. It simply does not work. That's why I'm saying, when I thought about it from a different perspective, when I took a different approach, all of a sudden that same outcome that seemed impossible before became very attainable, and actually, if anything, kind of easy. Now, the other thing about lazy people that really works in their favor and to their advantage is that they use other people to complete their hard work. It might sound kind of mean, but it's a key skill in business. They delegate, right? So they don't try to take on the heaviest workload and do everything. They actually let other people who are talented and gifted do some of those things that they can really outperform themselves by handing it off to someone else. This also goes hand in hand with asking for help, which saves them time, right? So not only are they optimizing the use of their time, they're also saving themselves from having a really steep and long learning curve by really cutting it with people who are ahead of them, getting mentorship, getting coaching. I know it would have taken me probably decades to figure out how to run my business correctly if I kept trying to figure it out on my own. But when I took the more lazy route and actually asked for help and paid for help, it solved all my problems quickly, which then allowed me to accelerate and build my business to 6 figures by the time I was still a teenager. Part of that was also learning from other people's failures, looking at people who had gone a route that took a very long time and didn't really yield great results. So by having that kind of lazy mentality and a little bit of a lazy mindset, it made it really easy to see what wasn't going to work, because I didn't want to waste my time working very hard and get very little in return. Nobody wants to play that game. Sometimes we find some type of honor in it and we try to show our battle scars and say, hey, I look cool, look what I went through, it was so difficult. But would you really want it to be that way if you had the choice? Wouldn't it be nice if you could just have a smooth ride? Now, I'm not saying that you're never going to encounter challenges, but how you deal with them is really essential, right? Are you making it more difficult than it needs to be? I know I was, and I was wasting my time. Another thing that really helps out with having more of a lazy mentality and a lazy mindset is that you don't try to be perfect, right? You just do the thing that you're trying to do, and you kind of create minimum viable products and minimum viable results to test and see what works and what doesn't. shouldn't. Instead of pouring your heart and soul into something and trying to create perfection, you just test it. You try it out. You do the minimum to see what kind of result you might be able to get and to see what might come of it. This protects your energy, your time, and even your ego a little bit, so that you don't feel like you put in all this work for nothing. Because how many times did I work on a video or try to convince a client that I could help them when it wasn't really the right fit? And I was working really, really hard, but getting very, very little in return. I was going for perfection. I was trying to please everybody. And instead, I was just shooting myself in the foot. Setting a low barrier to entry for yourself makes you take action and actually try something. I'm not talking about being lazy in a way where you don't do anything at all. I'm talking about optimizing. I'm talking about making life easier so that you don't constantly feel like you're in an uphill struggle against yourself. And by the way, if you want to be in less of an uphill struggle against yourself and you want some help, some guidance, some coaching from me personally, and you also want to be a part of an amazing community of like-minded people, then I invite you to go to erafael.com to schedule a free one-on-one call with me. We'll talk, we'll see what's going on in your life right now, how I might be able to help you really elevate and go to the next level. And then if we decide that we're a good fit, maybe we can work together. Again, if you want to take advantage of that, go to erafael.com and sign up for a free call. Another key thing that lazy people do is they make work more fun, right? Most people, when they work, they're very stagnant and stiff and kind of frustrated, and they really resent what they're doing. They're not having a good time, which makes it even worse. Right now, it feels like a chore and you don't want to be there and you don't want to do what you're doing, which just puts you in a negative space. But what if you took a different perspective? What if you had some music playing in the background, or like a good audiobook, or you just had a better frame around what you're doing? I remember mopping floors and cleaning toilets as a janitor and feeling absolutely miserable and ashamed at myself. Now, this is many, many years ago, but I also remember that just a few months later, I was, scrubbing those same toilets and mopping those same floors with a smile on my face, and I was actually kind of having fun. What changed? Well, my whole perspective had shifted. I had more optimism for the future. I was already starting to build my business. I was excited. I was having a good time, believe it or not. So whatever it is that you're spending your time on, if you're gonna spend your time on it, try to make it as enjoyable as you possibly can. That way, you're not feeling miserable in the process. The thing is, by applying more of a lazy mentality, you actually will also feel less pressure and stress when you're doing something that's challenging and difficult. So as I was growing my business in the beginning with all that perfectionism and tryharding, it was very much so, oh, let me prove myself. And then now I had all this added pressure. It made it harder to actually perform. When I relaxed and I thought, it doesn't matter how it goes. I'm just gonna see what happens. I'm just gonna show up. All of a sudden, it wasn't so difficult. And actually the result came easier. Being stressed, being uptight, being all tense isn't serving you, right? If you can just relax and have fun with it, you're going to perform that much better. And the final thing that really helps lazy people out is that they try to avoid work, right? They're always taking the path of least resistance and trying to optimize. And of course, these are high functioning, productive, lazy people who are more so optimizers that I'm talking about. But really, what they do is they do the 20% that gets the 80% of results. So it's the 80-20 principle that they're applying constantly in what they do. They are efficient. They don't waste time doing unnecessary tasks. They don't go over things 100 times and try to get them just right. They get things done and they move on, and they do the most important stuff that actually ends up being effective and getting the end result done. Now, I hope I could give you a different perspective and a little bit of a spin/twist on how you view laziness and how you can use it to your advantage to optimize your life and have a better life. If you did enjoy it, go over on YouTube. If you're not already on YouTube, drop me a like for the algorithm to help me out and support me, and subscribe while you're at it. I appreciate you. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day.